Hey guys, and welcome back to Her Revision, the podcast for women who are rewriting the stories that they tell themselves and that the world tells them. And this is episode 7, you guys. 7. We do 10 episodes a season, and we are 3 episodes away. And I just thank everybody who has been tuning in because y'all are amazing. Today, we're going to talk about joylessness. I'll be very vulnerable and open right now. I have been feeling joyless, which to me is very different from unhappy. Joyless to me lacks hope in the state of being happy, if that makes sense. I actually wanted to pull up just to get a little deeper and go head first into this topic. I wanted to pull up the biblical definition of joy, right? So it says that the biblical definition of joy says that joy is a feeling of good pleasure and happiness that is dependent on who Jesus is rather than on who we are or what is happening around us. And lately, Jasmine has been feeling joyless. I think that it has stemmed from some traumatic events that have happened in my life as of late, and it's just made me feel very hopeless. And that's why I said that to me, joy is, or joylessness is, the state of unhappiness with hope deferred. So just to put it in perspective, I do want to speak upon how when you do feel a lack of joy in your life, how it can definitely be the start of a negative path. And because of the void that I had been feeling in terms of being happy, I feel like it's produced things within myself that I don't like. For instance, I think that I've been more susceptible and prone to negative energy, to complaining, to conversations that are not conducive to my well-being in terms of my mental health. And I was watching a sermon today, and the pastor stated that, and let me not mess up what the pastor actually said. Today he says, if you don't deal with your joylessness, temptation will, problems will, drama will, insert will. And it made me think how true it is that when you do not deal with this ongoing feeling of depression or anxiety or not feeling joy, all of these negative things will deal with them for you. All of these negative things will overcome all of the work that you've been trying so hard and on this path of doing. So I even apply it to just me going to church today, or watching church rather. I have not been feeling like watching a sermon. It was to the point where like there was a void. There was like a connection that felt broken to me. And watching church or like listening to motivation, I just couldn't do it. Today was the first day in a long time that I connected as well as I did to a sermon. And I'm very happy for that right now. But I do say that to say unaddressed joylessness can lead down to those negative paths. I think joylessness can breed temptation. I think joylessness can breed drama. I did not realize how, because of the feeling that I had been feeling so long and it had just been festering within my spirit, how that would make me unintentionally more angry. It made me unintentionally more negative within my speak, with how I perceive the future. Everything was just kind of like blah. I just don't feel it. And I don't know if anybody else is feeling this way or have felt this way, and you're coming out of it, or you're trying to navigate how to get out of this feeling of joylessness. But for me, the first step was identifying that that's what it was. I was experiencing joylessness. I wasn't unhappy because to me, well, I'm not going to say I wasn't unhappy because I was unhappy, but happy, the state of being happy or unhappy is fleeting. To me, it felt like a spiritual thing. Therefore, I contributed it to joy. So if you're feeling this way, the first step is identifying that, make a little bit more money now. I'm gonna feel it now. I'm gonna feel joyful now, or get in a relationship. I'm gonna feel the joy now. No, this is spiritual. This is something that I knew that without Jesus, I would not be able to recover from. I knew that it was joylessness when I did not have the urge or the willpower to do any of the things that used to bring me joy as much as it did. I did not have the willpower or the strength to do things that I used to be so gung-ho about. I did not have the strength to journal. I did not have the strength to watch a sermon. I didn't have the strength to get on camera and make any TikTok. I didn't have the strength to do any of the things that I used to religiously do. I just didn't. And I could joke, I could have regular conversations, but in my heart, in my spirit, I was sad. Sad. And I don't want to cry. I'm not going to cry. But these things that have happened to you or might have triggered this feeling of joylessness, just know that you can get out of this. You can overcome this. And I want you to insert whatever your thing is, whatever's making you feel not your best or sad. You can overcome it. And I'm speaking to myself when I say this as well as you guys, but today, I don't know if I had an epiphany or what, but I feel hope today. I feel hope that the things and the feelings that I've been experiencing in terms of not feeling my best, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. And maybe it'll be, like a click or a light switch for you when that feeling comes. But for me right now, I'm just like, wow, I know that I can be better. I know that God wants me for my better. I know that with or without this state of happiness, with or without the things that normally bring me joy, God is always here. Jesus has never left my corner. And I guess that one of the biggest things for me was that when I looked back on the trauma or the things that I've experienced that inevitably took away this feeling of joy from me, I don't think I had ever put God in the middle of it because it was hard. I felt like I was separating my relationship with God with the trauma that I was going through, with the things that were happening, because I didn't know at that moment how to put him in the middle of it without feeling some type of resentment for the fact that I was experiencing it with such a great relationship with God. Like how can two things be true? How can I be going through hell, but God, you're in the so I subconsciously had to disassociate my relationship with God with the things that I was going through in order for me to feel like I wasn't blaming him for the things that I was going through, if that makes sense. I was telling myself, I love God. I'm not angry with God. I do feel this way, but I know that he didn't do it to me, while also being so upset with the stuff that I was having to endure. I was trying to separate the two. And honestly, it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic to separate your closeness to God, the relationship you have with him, and then separate the things of this world that you're going through. You can't. And maybe that is facing the fact that maybe you are a little bit angry with God for this feeling. Maybe you are a little bit angry with God for the lack of happiness or the lack of joy you feel. But I do know that even with those feelings that I was feeling, he had never left me and he understood. Imagine you being so upset with someone for something that was not on them, but on chance and circumstance and whatever the case may be, but knowing that they are so empathetic and so willing to just be there with you and take that blame, even though it wasn't on. That is so beautiful to me, and it just makes me realize that God has my back, and that gives me hope. So therefore, it gives me joy. It gives me some type of light at the end of the tunnel feeling. If you're feeling joylessness, if you're feeling a lack of joy in your life, just know that you must put God in the middle of it. Did you even invite him to the trauma? I know that a lot of us are like, Duh, God sees all. He's here with me. He knows what I'm going through. Why do I have to say X, Y, and Z? God, please. Why do I have to? Personally, for me, I feel like He is always here. But until you invite Him into your issue, invite Him into what you're going through, you won't ever see what's on the other side of that door. If my alternative is to live like this, to feel like this always, no let up, no nothing, I can't do it. If what I need to do, or at least the first step of what I need to do, is to invite God into the middle of my mess, then that's exactly what I need to do. That's exactly the first step that I'm going to have to take. The first step is knowing that. The first step is always identifying that you have a problem. No, but I definitely know that is something that I'm willing to take the chance on. So what I had to do for me was I literally had to be real about this specific prayer. And I prayed to God and I asked Him to please be in the middle of my mess. And the way that I pray to God, I pray like it's a conversation, but just to paraphrase what my prayer was, I asked God to meet me where I was, broken, hopeless, without joy. Meet me where I was, because I was looking at Him on the other side of what I needed to overcome. It's like the way that I was feeling is that I was separated from Him. So there was me feeling stuck and alone and without anybody and feeling so down. And then there was God all the way over there. That's how I looked at it. So then, okay, what's after that? You invite God in, right? You invite God into the middle of your mess. You've identified. So what now? Okay, so I've identified that I'm without joy, that there's something spiritual going on. I've invited God into the middle of my mess. Is everything going to be fixed? Absolutely not. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. Now is the hard part. You got to do the work. You got to put in the work. You have to rewrite your narrative now. And as much as I preach, rewrite your narrative, it is a lot harder to do it than it is to say it. So what does it mean, Jazz, when you say do the work? What does it mean for me to rewrite my narrative, to find that joy, to become more full of life? What does that mean? Well, for me, the first things was to identify what area of my life felt draining to me. What is it that's going on in your life that is where the problem is stemming from? Because a lot of the times something can trigger this feeling of joylessness. Something can trigger this sadness or this state of depression. Something triggers it. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of the stuff that I was going through, baby, therapy. A lot of the stuff that I'm still going through, therapy. Therapy is, after I identified the things that they're heavy. So if you know that the things that you have identified are the areas in your life that are draining you, ask yourself, what are some of the things at this very moment that you can do about it? Now, if it's something like, I can't afford nothing, I can't afford to pay my bills, trust me, I've been there, and I put God in my finances, and I don't want to be one of those girls that always like, what's the cure to your problems? Put God in it. But I promise you, there is no reason why the money that I'm making, the wage that I am making, can afford me much more in my life than I had when I made 4 times as much as I do now. There is no reason why that's possible but God. So if your area in your life that's draining you is your finances, I personally put God in the middle of it. I put him I went on a financial fast for me, and I did nothing but scriptures that were related to money. I prayed to God. I journaled about it daily for 30 days straight. I did not spend any outside. I didn't spend money on anything that was not an essential. I did not eat out. I cooked everything. And a lot of the times, a lot of people are like, well, that costs more money. Not if you budget. Budgeting will be your best friend. By the penny, I calculated everything that was coming out of my account. I sat down and I took out necessities, and then I took out the things that weren't necessities but were wants. All of those apps and subscriptions that you paying money for, you need all them coffee runs you do, all of that was a part. That was the area in my life that was draining me. And I knew that I needed to fix that in order to feel joy again. And granted, that is technically a thing. When we talk about joy, we talk about that it's not of tangible things. Joy cannot be sustained with tangible items, but a lot of the things that we're going through take away the thing is spiritual. Your relationship with money is a lot deeper than you not being able to afford yourself a new bag. So that was one of the things that I needed to really get real about when I identified that as an area in my life that was draining me. If an area in your life that's draining you is a relationship, whether it be friendship or romantic, really identify what it is and who it is that is making you feel like that, because I promise you, if it's of God, it will not. Not to say that things won't get hard and you won't have to deal with communication issues or, working things. But if it is a matter of something draining you, you might have to identify if that relationship is worth it. If it's that the relationship is necessary for your life, or if you are experiencing a people-pleasing moment where you feel like you cannot let that go because it feels bad to you. Identify if that's one of the areas. For me, it is things that have happened to me, traumatic events that have happened to me that have made me a lot more hesitant of myself, a lot more doubtful of the future. And that is things that I know can only be helped by talking it out over and over. That's therapy. So if therapy is something that you need to do to work on some of the areas, and if the areas in your life that are draining you are not things that you can fix like that, or it's not things that you physically know how to navigate yourself, try it, I promise. So after you've identified that, you need to also think about the stories that you're telling yourself. When it comes to things and areas in your life that are draining you or producing this feeling of joylessness, there are always negative thoughts and opinions and stories that we tell ourselves that support the joylessness, that support the unhappiness. It came a point in my life where I was like, because of this, I feel like I'm hopeless. I feel like I'm maybe not good enough. Maybe it's something that I'm doing wrong. Maybe what I thought was my purpose isn't my purpose. Maybe I'm not that great of a person. Maybe I make horrible decisions. Maybe I'm not that smart. Maybe it's you do a whole lot of negative thinking. Just know that that's not true. Everything that you're feeling now, all these negative thoughts and you beating yourself up, is all a product of that feeling. Just know that feelings are not over faith. I know what I may feel, but I know that faith tells me otherwise. I know that I may feel like this, but I know that I need to rewrite that narrative in order for me to step on the other side of joy. So if you're like me and you have felt the joy void, I urge you to reclaim your happiness. It's going to be okay. Whether that means practicing self-care, because when you feel good on the outside, you'll feel good on the inside. Whether it is talking to supportive people, like I said, I'm 100% advocate of therapy. And if I would and could promote my therapist, I would. But I'm not going to do that, y'all. She already booked and I can't. I'm sorry. But therapyforblackgirls.com. Slight plug, and this is not sponsored. Anyways, I urge you to do all of those things. I urge you to make a conscious decision right now as you are listening to me to choose you, to choose God. Choose Him. I had to tell God this morning, I'm sorry for not putting you in the middle of it. I probably would have been well on the road to recovery had I. And granted, I am now, but you don't realize that He's your ticket. God is the ticket. So I am making an effort every day now to choose joy. And yeah, there are going to be some days where I still don't feel it, that I still feel bleh. But as long as I keep God in the center of it, I know that is never going to be concrete. As long as I remind myself that this is a feeling and it's not my faith, it will never be concrete. So find your pocket of joy today. I just want to thank you guys so much for listening to episode 7 of Her Revision podcast. Please don't forget to like, comment, Follow and subscribe to the podcast. If you are loving the episode, if you watched any of the other episodes, please rate the podcast, you guys. That helps tremendously. Share it to your friends, your family, whomever. And I just want to say thank you. I love you guys. You already know how this goes. We're rocking when we're rolling. Follow me on all my platforms. Her Vision Podcast on Instagram. Jasmine Lachey 0105 on TikTok. Her Vision Pod on YouTube. We are doing it. And don't hesitate to reach out to me. Let me know how you are rewriting the narrative that you will never have joy. Because you're going to rewrite that narrative, friend. Anyways, I love you guys. Thank you for listening. Bye.